Welcome to Switch Your Sitch with your host, Katie Turner. I'm excited today. I have a guest all the way from Orlando, Florida, Michael Kolodin. I've probably bastardized that last name 100%. Michael comes from a finance background, similar to me. I have an economics background. Michael was in credit and debt collection. So I'm going to get him to tap into a bit of that. And he's made a huge switch into now owning and operating in partnership with Sandeep, the Total Beverage Company over there in the States. So welcome, Michael. Can you give us a little background about how you made that switch from finance into beer?
Well, thank you for welcoming me, Katie. It wasn't easy. Debt started to get a little crazy around 2013 and 2014. Prices of it started to become astronomical. It was tougher to find. And so my partner, Sandeep, who I met back in 2002, was actually my assistant initially. When the industry sent me over to India to the call center training, I was supposed to go over there and teach the India call centers the FDCPA, the Fair Debt Collections Practices Act, because that kind of tells you who you can call, when you can call, what you could say, how you can say it. And we did a lot of role playing, and Sandeep was my assistant. We were together probably 8, 9 years, and then he went off to brew in India, and I continued on in debt. And in 2017, he called me and said, "Hey, Michael, I'm going to be speaking at the Craft Brewers Association conference in Washington, D.C. Why don't you come visit me and hang out for a couple of days?" Now, I happen to be in New York working on a project, so it was only a 4-hour drive. So I said, you know what? I'll do that. Now, if I was in Orlando, not quite sure, as much as I love him to death, that I would get in a car and drive 20 hours to hang out for a couple of days to drive 20 hours back. So bottom line is we got together and we formed Total Beverage at that point. And since then, the teacher has become the student. Wow. So I feel like I'll age myself now. I feel like grasshopper. So, yes, absolutely.
So do you believe in right time, right place? I mean, those connections, albeit 15 years apart from when you started, when you went to India to have an assistant of Sandeep, to then 15 years later knocking on your door saying, hey, this is how I've evolved, but I'd like you to come and see me. I mean, is that fate, or is it, purpose?
It's fate.
How do you see it?
It's fate. It's destiny, I think. I believe in that.
Yeah, definitely. And so now 2022, you formed the Total Beverage Company. Tell us a little bit about what you do there.
Well, what we're doing now, we formed in 2019. We opened a brewery bar restaurant in Lake Mary, Florida, and it was successful. We owned it into the pandemic. The partner that we were associated with was not as desirable as one would like, which happens in business. And so we wound up getting bought out. We did $1 million worth of revenue in the first year, so we were successful. When the pandemic hit, what made us kind of special was we had a 4 COP license, which is consume on premises. And the caveat with that, it was like a $6,000 license. We had a full bar along with the brewery. The caveat was we had to sell 50.1% food. So the state came in 8 months in a row and said, run a point of sale report. Let's see. And we came in between 51 and 53%, I think, all 8 times. And they left us alone finally. But because when they shut things down, even in Florida for a month or two before they opened up, we were considered, because of the food sales, a restaurant that sold beer and liquor, but not a bar. The bars had to shut down. So we were able to stay open and we were able to navigate those waters.
We just take a step back. So was there 3 of you that started that?
Initially, we came in and rescued our partner who was having some issues. And we were looking, it was funny, we were looking for a location to open the brewery. And our real estate agent calls and says, "Hey, Michael, I got a place that actually has brewery equipment in it." And I'm like, "Yeah, right. Okay, sure, brewery equipment." And we showed up and it did. So we made a deal, and 5 months later we opened, and it was successful. We had a great time. It was a great learning experience because it was different from what Sandeep did in India. Sandeep has opened 75 third-party brew pubs for other people, including JW Marriott and the Radisson Hotel Group. So he captured a large part of the sales and maintenance market in India. And now we came over and did it here. But now we're in Eustis. We're doing the Eustis Brewery project, and it's a production brewery. So we're going to make beer and hard seltzer for other bars and other restaurants, other clubs, bistros, saloons, and just about anywhere you could sell liquor and beer. We're going to have a canning line. So we're going to sell it to convenience stores, packaged goods stores, and of course, here in the States, you can get beer in a gas station. So
Wow.
we did that. Yeah, we did that. We're in the process right now. We're in the architectural design phase, and we're going to break ground in probably 90, 100 days. And what makes us a little different this time is that we are the first group in the world that is bringing in 5 international brewmasters. We have a young lady from Spain. We have a guy in the UK. We have a guy in Austria that went to German brewing school. We have a guy from India, a guy from Sao Paulo, Brazil. And,
Wow.
and we follow up. We have a good old boy from Texas to round it out. Okay. And it's like, initially, people are saying, "Oh, you can't do that. You're not going to be able to do that. There's too many egos. They're going to fight." We have been on Zoom meetings now for about 6 months. These guys like each other. Okay. They respect each other. People are saying, "Oh, it's going to be like trying to take a picture of 9 cats in a low tub while you're bathing them." Okay. Everybody's going to be jumping ship. No, these guys like each other. We are going to make the best beer in Central Florida because we don't want to make a Miller Lite or a Bud Light or a Coors or even a Corona. Our beer is going to be from their geographic locations from all over the world, and that's what's going to make us a little different.
And you'll export all over the world?
We are in the process of working with distributors right now, literally, and we're gonna hopefully do it all over the U.S. and all over the world. We also want to import beer and liquor and wine from all over the world, so our offerings are not just ours, but hey, you know what? These guys are from all over the world. They created this. Try this first, and for dessert, if you want a beer from Japan, hey, we got it. You know, so it's going to be a great opportunity, I think.
So can we just deep dive into that cultural differences? I mean, there's a reason you've brought these experts from all around the world. We live in a global society. Here in Australia, we're very multicultural. We have a huge population of a huge proportion of the Indian population as migrants, next to New Zealand, China. So has there been any cultural differences or similarities working with Sandeep?
Yeah, I joke about that a lot. Yeah, the language, the interpretations, there are times I call him up and say, "Okay, you used the wrong word here." But I mean, look, India has an amazing culture. It's 10,000 plus years old. The people are wonderful. The culture is deep. I've been to India about 12 times.
Wow.
And yeah, it's a long ride. It's like flying to Australia. I mean, you're on a plane 16 hours from New York or Newark. It's like if you leave on a Monday, you're still on the plane Tuesday. Now, you've slept, but you haven't gone to bed. By the time you go to bed, you wake up, you think it's Tuesday, it's Wednesday. Now, coming back is even worse. You leave on a Monday and you get back an hour before you left.
That's we're used to it in Australia. That's just Sydney and Brisbane if you want to drive.
Right. There you go. So yeah, there've been a lot of cultural things that he's had to teach me. I've had to teach him. So like for instance, tipping. Okay, going into a restaurant there, I go to tip and he goes, "Don't do that. That's too much." Okay. And he goes to tip here and I go, "Don't do that. That's not enough." So, it's a little different, but we complement each other.
Right.
Okay. Where he's strong, I'm not as strong. And where I'm strong, he's not as strong. So together we make an amazing team. I think people that get to know us understand that, and they come to us because of our versatility. Look, we surround ourselves with people that know more than we do. Okay. And to me, and I've heard from a bunch of people, that's the sign of smart business.
Mm-hmm.
I don't profess to know everything. And if I do, then I'm an idiot because nobody knows everything. So I surround myself. I have a project manager that knows more than I do, that talks to the brewery equipment people. We're setting up our design right now. Tomorrow we have a meeting at the property owner's location with the architect, the engineer, the project manager, myself, and our forensic accountant. What makes us different there is we attract a lot of investors, and we brought in our forensic accountant. His name is Richard Bender, and he has a firm in Lakeland, Florida. By the way, really good tax accountant, the best. And we put him in to make sure that he watches the investor money to make sure that it's spent in accordance with the business plan and the usage of funds that we represented to them. So he's kind of like an insurance for the investors. He's responsible. They can call him. And we try to run everything very transparent. Did I answer your question, or did I start rambling?
The biggest part out of that, and I want to touch on this, is revenue versus profit. And I think when people go in to raise money from angel investors or seed rounds or whatever it might be in the startup world, there's no real accountability. Once they get that investment, that funds through, I've heard, Uber, for example, weren't even profitable for the first 4 or 5 years they ran, even with investor money. They were running at a loss. So what's your take on this revenue versus profit? And should companies have to be more transparent in reporting their profit?
Oh, hell yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Government, too many regulations. Profit is obviously more important than revenue. I can make, in many cases, more net profit with less revenue by running the business properly. Okay, so whereas a lot of people just, hey, we did $3 million, and yeah, you lost 100,000. So as far as I'm concerned, profit rules.
Definitely, 100%. So does cash flow. And I think a lot of business, that's where my jam is strategy with businesses, is that firstly their accountability, and secondly their cash flow. They underestimate how important it is to ensure that they're ahead of their cash flow.
Absolutely.
So tell me, do you have a social strategy? What is that going forward? I mean, have you thought about where you land, your platforms? Where is that all?
Oh, see, when you said social strategy, I thought you were asking me if I was single or married.
No, I can't ask that on this show. I'm sure I'll be vilified.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to say, yeah, I'm sure we'll both get blasted. Right now, I'm in the process of hiring a social media director, because, again, I don't want to appear as though I know everything. I myself have not been on Facebook in almost a decade.
Wow.
Okay. Well, you know what it was? I mean, quick 10-second story. I went on, and all of a sudden, literally 100 people from when I was a kid to when I was in school reached out to me. We were talking, and after 2 months, I realized why I'm not talking to most of them. you know. So
That's very
so
true. Past is
you know
past for a
so
reason.
so right. LinkedIn is a different thing. I've got 8,000 people that I'm connected with. Anybody that's in brewing, distilling, bottling, canning, from all over the world, literally, and it's a great opportunity. I've gotten 200 or 300 resumes and CVs, and I haven't even asked for them because
Wow.
people look at our model and say, "Well, this has never been done before. Maybe we want to be part of that." And so we're actually starting an immigration process for our brewmasters.
Predominantly from India or all around the
No,
world?
no, from, like I said, from Spain, from the UK,
Right.
from India,
Yeah.
from Brazil, and from Austria.
Wow. Because I know it is hard to get into the States, even for us Aussies down here.
Well, yeah, I even told them that if you get frustrated, just fly to Mexico City and walk north.
Yeah. That's true these days.
Yep,
And if you need a taste tester from Australia, I'm right here.
absolutely.
Do you think there's going to be, because you're going to be branding or creating beers for other brands, have you foreseen that there may be any conflict of interest with that in terms of what you brew and what your customers may want?
No, I don't think, you know what, conflict of interest, it's almost back now we're getting into government regulations. I don't like them. If we're
So you're
going
an
to, I even told,
entrepreneur.
right, exactly. I told my partners, hey, when you guys come in as partners, in that first bunch of beers, we're going to name beers after our partners
Great.
because we can.
Yes,
And
that's right.
it's a great thing to do. They're going to bring 5 or 10 of their closest friends, and their names and maybe even their pictures are on the can. I mean, it's a great opportunity. We're look. We want this particular production brewery. We're currently talking with a number of different restaurant groups that want to come in and join us. We are looking at being socially, I mean, from a community level involved. We want to take care of, if we need to raise money for sick kids, we want to take care of our veterans. We want to honor our police officers and those who take care of us. We want to give back. We want to raise money, be part of the community. And if somebody needs something, hey, come in and talk to us. In Lake Mary, I had some people tell me of some families that couldn't eat.
Wow.
So for a couple of months, we fed them. Why not? Because that's what it's all about. And obviously never gave them a bill, never even went near that subject, because when you do something for somebody or people, we don't do it for the accolades. We want to do it because we want to help. And I think that's really important.
It's so true. I think that's part of the entrepreneurial part, isn't it? That we raise money not just for ourselves and for our business, but we have the ability to then give to causes or other areas that we may be passionate about. My business sponsors 4 different sporting communities. That's my background. We sponsor a surf life saving club. We sponsor a women's rugby team. We sponsor a young kids Wallabies rugby league team over here, a cerebral palsy foundation, so that we can make money for those things that we are passionate about as well, rather than the government saying, this is where your money must go.
Absolutely. 100% with you on that.
I think that's so this is world domination from the Total Beverage Company, right? This is like as big as it gets. It's co-branding beers for restaurants, it's creating, distribution channels all over the world.
For sure. We're not looking to take over the world, because, maybe 10 feet at a time. We want to give a variety of opportunity. We're looking to open, obviously, in Orlando and Eustis here. And the reason we're in Eustis, it's a beautiful 100-year-old small town, 25,000 people, surrounded by Mount Dora, Tavares, Leesburg, 50,000 people. Our money is going to be generated from distribution, from Daytona Beach through Orlando all the way to Tampa Bay, so from coast to coast in Florida. We're going to also have a probably close to 200-seat tap room that'll have indoor and outdoor seating upstairs, downstairs, as well as rooftop and balcony seating because we're on a lake. And we're going to sell that probably with, call it, sunset dinner and drinks. The sunset's right over the lake. It's beautiful. So we're going to hopefully become a destination. That would be our secondary income. The restaurant income would be our tertiary income. We're going to have live entertainment. We're going to have special nights, women's, ladies' nights. We're going to have different kinds of trivia nights and stuff like that. I wasn't sold on trivia until my last general manager, who's going to run this location as well. He said to me, Michael, you got to try it. And I was like, yeah, all right, why not? We tried it. Instead of people staying an hour and 10 minutes, they're there for 3 hours to play for $50 gift certificates. The bills that the average check went through the ceiling, and I was sold on it. Now we're looking at bringing something in called Dirty Bingo, and I don't want to go into it. So we're looking at this particular location is going to have potentially 5 different income streams, including renting out for private parties, for all different kinds of occasions. So with 4 or 5 different income streams, the foundation is going to be a lot stronger than just being supported by the locals in a brewery, bar, restaurant.
I love that. And what you're creating is an experience. You know, I worked in hospitality for years when I put myself through my university degree. And even when I first went to start graduateship, we were paid ridiculously low income, probably more than what you get paid in the States. But, you know, and so I always supplemented it by waitressing at night. And part of that was I love the experience of people. I love to be able to, you know, create an experience. So whatever business I'm in currently, I always say I'm in that business of people, whether it's social media, whether it's website design, whether it's podcasting, whether it's fitness, it's always in the business of people. And you sound like you're going to create the ultimate experience there in breweries.
And that's, you just said it. We want to provide the best brewery experience. We want to keep people here. We want people to come here because they feel at home. You know, Cheers did it best in the States. They had the show, you know, where you walk in and everybody knows your name.
That's right.
The reason I chose the general manager that I did a couple of years back was he was working. He was a GM in this location. I went in there every day for 30 days and I had breakfast and I watched him. Okay. And he would jump behind the line and help them get out of a burial. He would then go out onto the floor. He knew all the customers' name. They knew him. And after a month, I brought Sandeep in and I said, this is the guy we should have run our place. And he killed it. He did a great job in Lake Mary, and he's going to do even a better job here at the Eustis Brewery Project, powered by Total Beverage.
I love that. A good a plug there as well. Tell me, because I've never thought of India as a beer drinking country or continent.
There are a lot of regulations in India, and it's changing right now. Yeah. Right now, China is the #1 beer consumption country in the world. We are #2.
Wow.
Okay. So yeah, and some of you would think that some other the European countries would be 3 and 4, and they're not. It's kind of crazy the lineup, but no, it's getting more popular. Like I said, Sandeep has opened 75 or so brew pubs all over India, and it's totally it's wonderful what he's accomplished over there, and now what we're accomplishing here is even better.
Yeah, fantastic. So can I ask you, and I ask most of my guests this, going into the entrepreneurial world after in a training world, have there been any books or podcasts that have really inspired your journey, or that you reflect back on when you think I've just taken on too much, or it's just, is it going to work?
My 2 favorite podcasts are Katie Turner Media. Okay.
Yeah.
And Terrence Johnson's Evolution. Okay, which is business strategies, motivation. He's an amazing man, and his messaging is just second to none that I've ever seen.
Wonderful. Because I mean, I know I listen to a lot of Gary V from over there in the States, Vaynerchuk. And on those days that I just think, oh, can I keep going? Or, doubting, that imposter syndrome kicks in. I listen to one of his, I say a few F words, and I'm back on track.
Yeah, no, I'm the same way. You know what? You got to do what you got to do to get to where it is you want to be, or where you're supposed to be.
Yes. I like that, where you're supposed to be. And, like you say, all those divine interventions, the meetings of people, the crazy ideas. We've just launched a product called Buckle Bandage here at KTM. So that's been a 5-year journey of creating a product now that exists that didn't before, to help reduce hot car seat buckle burns in kids in the car seats. Over here in Australia, you're experiencing it over there now, but in the middle of summer, you're getting your 40, 42, 3-degree days Celsius. And those car seat buckles get up to about 90 degrees Celsius.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's wonderful. Congratulations.
But as you say, it's been a journey. It's been, and there are times where you kind of self-doubt yourself as well through the journey.
There's no doubt, but when you're at the top of the food chain in your company, the problem with that can be you can't let anybody see that. If you're the leader, you have to lead by example. In my last brewery, in 2 years, I only officially had one beer.
Wow.
Okay? I would taste beers for their aroma, for the consistency, for whether or not it's got a bite to it. Is it sweet? Is it fruity? But I only had one beer with a partner once, because I didn't want to be that guy that had one too many and then lost the respect of the people that worked with me. So yeah, you got to lead by example, and people look at you for your strength.
That's right.
So often. And with that, I try not to let people see me in moments of doubt. Are there doubts? Hell yeah. There are doubts almost every day. Mm-hmm. But because every day brings something new.
That's right.
And you just got to stay focused. You got to get up, and you got to believe. You got to have faith. Okay? More importantly, faith is, I have a saying here. Faith sees the invisible, believes the incredible, and receives the impossible.
Very good. I love it.
So
content.
Yeah. So if you don't have faith in yourself and you have self-doubt, that's going to translate to the people that work with you. See, we try to be more of a family. We don't say they work for us, or we work with everybody. Mm-hmm. And listen, even the brewmasters, when we have our meetings, and we have another one tomorrow, everybody listens to everybody. Everybody has mutual respect, and everybody gets a say. Okay? We want to hear what everybody says. I want to become a brewmaster myself, and they're saying to me, well, why do you want to do that? No other partner does that. And I said, well, I want to understand what kind of issues you guys have to deal with, and maybe from my experience, how maybe to mitigate them prior to them becoming issues. So, and they thought that was kind of cool. So I want to understand the brewing from that perspective. So maybe we can streamline the process and avoid some of the issues that, like right now, we're deciding tomorrow on the final design. And the final design of the upstairs and downstairs, we're going to be building a building on as an attachment, most likely. And every one of the master brewers had some feedback, because we wanted to set it up functionally for them. What's the best way for you to deal with? We want the brew house here. We want the fermentation tanks here. We want the bright tanks, which is for the clarification before it goes into packaging here. So it's one flow through, and it has to flow through, or else it's not going to work. And if there's a backlog in any one area, then you're going to have problems. And when you have problems, it means less revenue and less return on investment.
And trying to solve it, I think that's, getting a wealth of experience into that design. I worked for an organization once where they had top management working out health and safety layout of a factory. And I was like, but you guys aren't in it. You're consulting your team members who are actually on the floor, and they made a terrible disaster out of it as to how it was double the time of their factory workers walking around the actual layout.
Absolutely. You talk to those who do it to understand what they have to deal with. So that's why I sat back and let them, I won't say fight amongst themselves, but discuss it fairly intensely to make sure that everybody was listened to. And then we came up with kind of a design. And then we presented it to the architect engineers who went, okay, we can do that. We can do that. I don't know about that. Some of the rules and regulations won't allow it, the city ordinances, but this is what we can do with that now. So tomorrow's meeting is kind of like, all right, so now we've gotten their opinion, we've gotten your opinion. Now let's make the soup, or as they used to say here, time to make the donuts.
That's right. And the other thing is you're exactly right. You've got all these ideas, and we present them and we go to put them into practice, but there's also a compliance factor that we have to deal with to some degree as well.
Absolutely. Here, because we got a distribution aspect, in Florida, there's a 3-tier rule. You can manufacture the beer, you can distribute it, you can retail it, but you can only be one of the 3.
Right.
Okay, so our distribution company has to be non-common ownership with the manufacturing.
Wow. Is that because they don't want to monopolize the market? Is that what it?
Well, it's monopolization to some degree, but it's also, if you're distributing it and you're manufacturing it, you put a couple of thousand in the guy's pocket, he's selling your beer and not somebody else's.
Yeah, right. Okay.
So I'm sure it's set up properly so that it kind of takes away the motivation of doing something that's not cool. Let's just call it that.
Yeah. So there's a big tip is we want to make sure as an entrepreneur that we're also operational. We understand how to operate the business as well as fundamentally be in it. And I think that's an important component. For anybody else who's thinking of kicking off in the beverage industry, let's say, have you got 2 other pieces of advice that you can plug in there as to whether they're going to grow or kick off a business?
Run for your life. No, I'm just kidding.
I think that's a part of it, isn't it? If you know then what you know now, it's always like, what do I do again?
Are you kidding me? Restaurants are the number one company, business that goes out of business more than anybody else. We are not a restaurant. We are a production brewery. Make sure your business plan is solid. Make sure you have enough money to anticipate things that you can't anticipate, because something's always going to happen,
Seen that.
And if you're going to do it, you can't lose faith in your business plan. You have to believe it. Okay, the difference between a salesman and an entrepreneur is an entrepreneur believes what he says. A salesman, not always.
I like that. So operational is very important, understanding your business operations. Secondly, cash flow, understanding how much money you need, and that contingency planning. I always say 30% more. It's going to cost you 30% more than what you think it's going to cost you.
You're absolutely right. Matter of fact, we can make beer for 2.5 cents an ounce.
Wow.
So for 12-ounce beer, it might cost us under 30 cents. Okay, but at the same time, we could sell it for $6.50 USD. You got to know your numbers. If you don't know your numbers, if you don't know your geographic demographics, it's not going to work out. You have to know. Are you trying to open a brewery? If you're just opening a beer brewery and not a production brewery, you have to understand, are there more singles than married couples here? Okay. What are there families here? Does the area swell because there's enough commerce and business during the day that people come into the area to support it from a lunch crowd perspective? How many employees within a mile are working so that they can come to your location more than once a week? Okay, you want repeat customers. Word of mouth is the biggest compliment from anybody. So I would say those are the top things. You just got to believe in yourself and stick to your guns. When somebody tells you you can't do it, and if you think you can, then you keep doing it. What do they say? When you're walking through hell, keep walking.
You're there anyway. And I really think I've been in business now for over 20 years, and the fundamental.
Oh, come on. You don't look that old.
I know, but I started very young and naive. At 21 years old, I opened my first personal training studio, and I walked in there and I got a personal loan, and I got a place to put equipment in. And I rang my mum and I said, I've got a premise. And she said, just wait until your dad comes and sees it. And I said, I've already signed on the dotted line. And again, if I hadn't known then what I know now, would I have done it? Well, there was no mortgage and kids. But evolutionally over 20 years in business, those fundamentals of what you're saying, operationally know your business, have a rock solid business plan or strategy in place, know your cash flow, know your data, and know your customer are crucial to any business.
Absolutely. Matter of fact, the I guess the biggest problem in the brewery industry, for lack of a list, are home brewers that want to open their own brewery. Okay, because they think they're making a good beer, and there are some wonderful home brewers. I'm not disparaging home brewing at all. But when you make really good beer in home brewing, that is not the prerequisite for going and opening a brewery.
Definitely.
Okay. So, yeah, that would be the one thing that I would say.
They're making it to their taste as well. And I say similar to things to people in fitness, people who go into fitness because they think that they can spend their whole time in mirrors in the gym and drinking protein shakes is the wrong reason to go into it. It's the ability to make other people fit or make other people feel good, not because you look good.
It's the experience. Well, that's one of the reasons why you have to appeal to everybody.
That's right.
Okay, you can't just appeal to, oh, well, I like this beer, so I'm going to make that beer. No, you have to, like in Lake Mary, our brewery bar restaurant we opened in 2019. I would not allow news broadcasts in the brewery because I figured I would upset at least half the people. If it's a conservative, if it's a liberal broadcast, so I just got rid of them all and put on sports, just to make sure. I think Michael Jordan said it best when asked, so are you going to be marketing to the conservative groups out there? And he looked at him, he goes, hey, Republicans buy sneakers too, man.
That's very true.
I mean, right? So you have to appeal to everybody.
Yeah.
And that's not the easiest thing in the world to do. I even had some vegan food in there. But I mean, and you got to be careful because if you buy too much of it, you're throwing a lot of it away. And you did it because of these 2 or 3 small groups that came up to you that come in once a month. And before you know it, you bought $2,000 worth of food. You're throwing $1,500 of it out after a month. So you got to be careful as to what you're offering in your brewery experience.
I love that. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Michael. It's been an eye-opener. And if you get into that vodka distillery business, I'm your taste tester.
You know what? I'm gonna take you up on that. I need people that speak their mind when it comes to opinions. So, and well, I think I'll start with you, Katie. I believe that, and if this is an example, absolutely. It's been a great pleasure talking to you today.
Have a wonderful evening over there. And I will see you soon, especially if you do come to Australia or if I venture over there.
And I'm going to end with this. Those of you looking to find us,
Yes.
www.tbmicrobrewery.com.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much again and have a wonderful evening.
And you do the same. Thank you.
Thank you.